Hey guys, my name's Evan, and today I'm going to be reviewing the 6000 XP from EG4. I have been running this for 8 months now, and it's been running all of the critical loads here in my house. So you can see I've got two breaker panels, and this smaller one, this is all of the critical loads in my house that the 6000 XP is running. I'll go ahead, I'll just put them up on the screen, but just to list a few, it does run my propane furnace and the blower on my fireplace, so I can still heat my house in the wintertime. It also runs my propane on-demand water heater, so I have hot water, as well as my refrigerator, my deep freeze, my microwaves, and then I believe it runs all the lights and the outlets in the house. So to give a few examples of the loads in this panel that aren't being backed up by the 6000 XP, this has my air conditioner, it has my clothes dryer, the clothes washing machine, the dishwasher, the oven. It has some of those bigger appliances that I wouldn't call necessarily critical during a power outage. So what I want to cover in this video is the problems I've had with this system, any of the things that I see as negatives and the things that I see as positives, and then I just want to kind of go over the overall performance of how this is done over the last 8 months. So I've only had one problem with the 6000 XP, and I would call it like a minor issue. One day I tried to get on the monitoring website on my app, and I couldn't get any data to come up. So I went to the computer, I tried the monitoring website on the computer, still no data. It was the 6000 XP was not communicating on the internet for some reason. So on the side of the system right here, this is a Wi-Fi dongle, and this just basically plugs in here. You can see how easy I just pulled that out. So when you look at this, there's no screws that hold this in. It has what you would call maybe an HDMI style port. And after it's plugged in, it'll sync up with your Wi-Fi and then start communicating with the internet. So the day this wasn't communicating, I came down here and the Wi-Fi dongle didn't have any lights on it. It seemed to be not plugged in all the way. So I went ahead and I pulled it out, waited a few seconds, I plugged it back in, and everything seemed to work fine. And I think it would be nice if those dongles would have some type of a screw so you could actually securely hold that in place. I've had people ask if you could probably put this in an RV or a camper, and you probably could, and it would probably, it might be a good application for it, but I don't think that the Wi-Fi dongle is going to handle the bumps on the road, right? I think all of that driving is going to jostle that thing loose. It'll end up coming unplugged. But really, like I said, that's like a minor issue, and it's the only problem that I could come up with that I've had with this system. So the 6000 XP, it does have some negatives, and the biggest one is probably the fan noise. You can probably hear, if I get close, you can probably hear the fans are running right now, and they are variable. So the more solar you have coming in, or the more output that you're putting out, the louder those fans get. Right now, I'm going to say the fans aren't very loud right now. They can get quite a bit louder. But for me, I have this located in my basement in the mechanical room where there's already the water heater, there's already the furnace, there's already some noisy appliances down here. And the only room that I can hear this in is the one that is directly above us. And that is a half bathroom that's right above the system. And of course, there's no ceiling in this mechanical room, so then the sound does kind of transfer up there. But there's only one room in my house, as long as I have the door shut, that I can hear it in. So that the fan issue is a minimal issue for me, just because I think I have it located in the right spot so that you don't notice it. So the other thing people complain about on the 6000 XP is the screen. The screen is somewhat cryptic. I think you can understand like the symbols, but when you start going through like the different settings and everything, it's definitely a little bit hard to understand because they have weird abbreviations for what each setting and what each page is for. So when you look at the screen, this upper left-hand corner, this is what really confuses people, because it has these abbreviations. You're not entirely sure what this is actually standing for, and you can scroll through here and it'll change, and you about have to have the manual to understand. I think that's the serial number of the machine, and then that's the date, that's time. You see, like that. Who knows? You have to have the manual to know what that means for sure. So it's a little confusing on this upper right hand corner. And then you can look here, you can see like that is your PV2 kilowatts. This is your battery amp hours. Switch, there's your battery voltage. There's your PV1 voltage. The bottom part's a little bit easier to understand. So you don't have to use a screen to set it up if you have it on Wi-Fi. So you can set it up with the app on your phone. You can set it up from the monitoring website from a computer. But I do think if you own one, you need to kind of learn how to run the screen. It's a little bit hard to get used to. So now let's move on to the positive things about the 6000 XP. One of them still is probably the price point of it. Right now it is marked on Signature Solar's website at $1,700. I think when I bought it, I think I got it for like $1,400 or $1,500. So it has gone up a little bit. I think some of that is the tariff stuff that's going on. So another positive thing about the 6000 XP is even though it's considered an off-grid inverter, it can still utilize grid power when it needs to. So if your demand goes higher than 6,000 watts, it can switch over and let the grid power the load until your demand goes back down, and then it'll take back over. Same with like if you don't have enough solar or if your batteries run low, it'll switch to the grid and everything in your house still runs exactly the same. And then when the sun comes back out, it'll switch back to solar. And it switches back and forth seamlessly. You never even know it happens. But at the same time, even though it can use the grid, it does not backfeed. It does not try to sell back power. It's not grid tied. And that means you don't have to have a power company agreement to install it. You don't have to have a contract with them, a power company inspection. There's a lot of things a lot of hoops you don't have to jump through, right, to be able to install an off-grid inverter like this. So I'm sure that some of you can think of some more positives and negatives on the 6000 XP. And if you want, you can put those down in the description down below. That way everybody can read those, and that'll help everybody out. So now let's talk about how this has performed for me over the last 8 months. So the critical loads in this panel, the maximum continuous power draw that I've seen this use is about 3,000 watts. And most of the time this panel runs between 1,000 and 1,500 watts. But even at that 3,000 watts, I'm only using about 50% of the output from the 6000 XP. So I do not have this like overloaded. I am not pushing it very hard. I'm only utilizing 25 to 50% of the output power. Now, as far as the solar side of things, I think this can utilize 8,000 watts. I've got 7,800 watts of solar on here. So I have the solar almost completely maxed out. So I pulled up the EG4 monitoring website and you can see our total yield so far over 3,250 kilowatt hours of solar since we've installed the system. And you can see right now the battery is 100% state of charge. We're only outputting about 530 watts of power. Now down here, this is the chart for the day, and you can see the blue line is solar. You can see it going up and down. That's because it's a cloudy day. But even though it is a cloudy day, we had the battery fully charged by 11:44 a.m. today. So down here at the bottom, this is a bar chart for every day of the month. And I just want to look at the consumption real quick. I highlight over that, and you can see that this orange bar here mostly is at 15 kilowatt hours or lower every day. There's only about 4 days it was higher than that. Now, if you look at their solar production, you can see it's been a good month for solar. We've only had about 2 days that was fairly low. And then as I hover over import to user, this is how much grid power we have used. And you can see there's really only about 8 days we've used grid power. We had a good stretch from the 8th all the way over to the 18th, like 11 days, where we basically were off grid that entire time. So now I've got the graph for April 24th pulled up. It was pretty much a perfectly sunny day. So you can see by 7:30 in the morning, we've got 1,300 watts of solar coming in, so we're starting to charge the battery. And then 3 hours later, at 10:31 a.m., battery's 100% charged. And you can see the blue line is the solar. You can see it's coming up. We didn't even meet the peak for the day yet. And then when the battery was charged, it dropped down, and now it is only powering the loads. So it is just using enough solar to power the loads. We missed that entire peak of the day because we're clipping the solar. We're not using all the solar that's actually there. If we had more batteries, we'd have somewhere to put that. So where this system lacks right now is really the battery. I've got 14.3 kilowatt hours of storage. but I only utilize from 100% down to 30%. So I only use 70% of the battery, which is really only 10 usable kilowatt hours. And this panel uses 13 to 15 in a day. So I have less battery storage than what I use in a 24-hour period. So right now, as long as this battery is fully charged by like 5 p.m., it'll end up lasting all night till the next day. But if that day is cloudy, then I'll probably end up having to switch to the grid power for a little while until we have enough sun. And on a sunny day, I've got enough solar panels hooked up to this system that I can have this battery charged by 10:30 or 11 a.m., somewhere in there. And then there's like another 7 hours of sunlight left that I'm really not utilizing to charge batteries. So on a completely sunny day, I could probably charge 3 of these batteries up to 100%. So this is where my system could be improved. And then once that capacity, once I have more storage capacity at that point in time, I could start moving more loads into this panel and start powering more things. So my overall experience with the 6000 XP has been fantastic, really. You don't even know that it's running, that it's not normal grid power. I don't see any blinking lights or flashing lights, or when it transfers back and forth to the grid, I don't even see it blip at all. It just seems to do everything pretty well seamlessly. So I'm very happy with the 6000 XP. You know, the biggest problem is just not having enough battery space. We've only got over 3 megawatt hours of solar over right now. And if I would have had a second battery here, we'd probably be way over 6 by now. We would have utilized a lot more solar and minimized, and then that would have, of course, minimized my electric bill even farther. So even though I'm very happy with the performance of the 6000 XP, my plan is to actually replace it with the 12,000 XP. Now, originally I thought I was gonna, like later down the road, I could always add a second 6000 XP. But once this came out, I think it just makes more sense to put this one in. It'll take up less space overall. And 2 6000 XPs, you're gonna buy, I think costs like $3,400. And you can get this for $2,500. And in fact, I got a coupon code for this to take $100 off, but it's only good to the end of April, only like the next couple days it's good for. But still, even at the $2,500 price, and it will take up less space overall, I think this is definitely the way to go if you need that 12,000 watts of power. Now, I've already got a second wall mount battery down here on this system, and I may end up buying a third. I'm not for sure, but I'm definitely gonna increase the battery capacity, and I'm gonna increase the wattage, and I may end up running my entire house off of the 12,000 XP. And I mean everything. I mean, be the dryer, the air conditioner, the oven, and we'll see how it performs. So I'm really not for sure when I'm gonna replace the 6000 XP. I've got a lot going on right now. My best guess is probably sometime this summer we'll swap it out and put this one in. But if you guys are interested in either one of these 2 inverters, I will leave, you know, coupon codes and links down in the description below. And if you use my links, I will get a small commission off of that, and it'll help out the channel. But I think that's it for this video, guys. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.